Christ is risen, indeed he is risen. I have a couple of videos here I'm going to try to post it this morning. One is concerning dental. Now, my sister-in-law and my niece went to a dentist that was supposed to bill their insurance. They got their dental work done, both of them, if I remember the story correctly. And like a month later, they got a bill in the mail. And so they tried to work it out with their insurance, but they couldn't. They had to pay it. And so I just went to a dentist. I mean, it's just surprising this happened because, on the phone you don't expect it. You expect something entirely different when you're, talking to a place on the phone. But I was offered dental care, but they told me that my daughter didn't have dental insurance, which is not true. Now, I'm in a legal battle with the VA about compensation and about my health. Besides them gaslighting me. But so I don't have dental insurance and they don't provide it for me. So we use private insurers and government insurers. So I know that my daughter has dental care because it's under my policy. But the girl that worked in the office tried to convince me, oh no, they're not connected, it's totally separate. Not knowing that that was what I used to do. One of my jobs when I was active duty was the insurance stuff, TRICARE, DEERS, all of it. The ID cards, marriage stuff, divorce stuff, all of that. Matter of fact, I would probably say I was in the ID card section longer than anywhere else. And I think I was there up until the point that I actually got out of the military. I completed my enlistment, I believe. I think that's where I was. And that's also where I was during 911, if I recall. Or no, actually, no, I take that back. That was after 911. I was called to security for a year to do force protection. But, so, a dependence policy is under a parent's policy. And what I saw when I was there, I saw a pattern of people being told they didn't have insurance, or this person couldn't find it in the system, so they would treat it as a emergency dental procedure. They would bill them, and once they got their insurance paperwork around, it could be corrected. Now, basically people are being misled because once one of these insurance companies, their contact center, gets a call from somebody saying, oh, I was erroneously billed cash, there's going to be a lot of hoops to go through before they're going to change those codes and rebill. Because insurance companies, insurance companies do not like to bill after everything is already done and after everything is already billed. That's generally not how they like to do things. The day you go for service, they like the billing process to start, not way after the fact. But anyway, so these people are going to be billed by the dental office, cash, and then they have to convince their insurer to pick up the bill, which they may or may not. It depends on the contact center. They may give somebody, a really hard time, so whatever date is supposed to be, whatever fulfillment date is supposed to be, everything's supposed to be done, it'll pass. Or whatever codes are supposed to be on the billing by the dentist may or may not be on there. When it comes time for the patient to correct, from cash to insurance. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a lot of hoops to jump through, and there's time frames involved, and there's coding that's involved. And if the coding's not right, the insurer will reject it. And also, the fact of the matter is, if a pre-approval is required, and they find out, oh, it's not really emergency, it's going to be rejected anyway. If the dental insurer says, your dentist coded this as emergency, we don't see it as emergency because you just had a cleaning, and then you had an X-ray, and then you had a filling 6 months ago. In the time difference of about 3 weeks between 1 and 2. This doesn't qualify as emergency dental because it says you need a filling. They would have identified this, 3 or 4 months ago. We're going to reject it. So that's what I saw while I was there. I saw, I think, 4 patients that were told that they couldn't find their insurance information, including one was my daughter. We came into Saginaw and went to this place, and actually I think it's considered Bridgeport, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway. She said she couldn't find my daughter's insurance, which I watched her. She checked once, and she didn't even really check that hard, So what I'm seeing is people being messed with by this office that is not really digging like they should to find people's insurance. Now, my experience, you may or may not get a card from your dental coverage, whoever's covering you. My experience, sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. So I keep all of them. And, my insurer for dental, they don't put a date on there that it's valid, nothing. So again, I just keep all of them. But my daughter's never gotten one. And I was told that I just show mine. So, I can't fathom how many people are going to be billed cash, and then they're going to find that they have a ton of hoops to jump through if they can get the insurance to pay for the billing at all. I was pretty astounded. And I was also astounded the lack of depth that the office will go to investigate. There's a phone number on the back of the card, or you can Google, every single insurer I've dealt with, everything from Meridian, United, Blue Cross. There's a number. Google it, and you call the insurer, and I can think of at least 2 or 3 of them. The prompt is 2. You hit 2, 1 or 2 almost every time for the provider. They didn't do any of this. Nothing. And the fact of the matter, people sat there for like an hour. I don't know, their office is not functioning smoothly. I would say that. It may or may not be a good dentist. I didn't get that far. The dentist seems to be, aggressive, communicating with them, communicating with the patient. So I don't think the dentist is the problem. I think it's the office staff. Apparently their work is segmented and people don't overlap in doing, things to work with each other. So that's what I would say. Now, I don't know enough about it, this dental place, to actually put it. Eventually, sometime when I have more information about them, I'll put it in the description. Or maybe even post it into the comments and pin it, the name of this clinic. But just be careful. If you go into a dental clinic and people give you a hassle about your insurance, Or you hear even a doctor's office, they say, "Oh yeah, we just can't find anything. We'll bill you cash, and then you could just make a payment arrangement or whatever." Be very cautious, folks, because if the coding is wrong or your insurer requires pre-approvals or any complication at all, you're going to get stuck with the bill. And with some dental procedures, you could be looking at a lot of money. Tooth extraction is 200 to 300, depending on your level of Novocaine. It could jump to 4 or 5. I think a cleaning is like 100, $200, I think, for a cleaning. Um, the the minute you inject Novocaine, it's like 25 to 75 per injection. Um, Trying to go off the top of my head things. If you're going to do a root canal, I think that's 500 to 1,000, depending on the level, what they have to do. Um, Implants could be anywhere from 500 to 2 grand. Yeah, the cost just goes up. But if you're somebody, there's people next to me at the office in the waiting room. They both had gold caps and talking about their gold caps and how they cost $1,000. If you're somebody that likes, precious metals in your teeth, you're gonna pay for that too. So, which I don't know, I think is ridiculous. I think it's wasteful for money. You know, um, it's just wasteful. If you're gonna invest in gold, why put it in your mouth? Put it in a safe. Anyway, um, I would be very careful. If your insurer tells you they can't find anything, they're just going to bill you cash. Be careful. So hopefully this will help some people out there. I saw several people at this office that, I wonder what's going to happen with their billing because somebody just didn't want to look or they didn't care. You wouldn't think that an office would be malicious. Then again, you don't know. But, in the end, cash is always better than insurance checks, right? Be careful, folks.